This vaccine has taken its toll on a lot of people.
Yes.
Can you tell us about your story?
Yes. A lot of parts to it, a lot going on the last couple of years. But I received my second Moderna mRNA vaccine. It's been 2 years, February 2021. And since then, right after, I had nausea, vomiting within a couple days. And then a week after, I was in the hospital and placed.
The first time you didn't have any effect?
Didn't have any problems with the first one at all. But it was the second one that I had the problems with, and a lot came on. First thing was respiratory. Ended up on the ventilator a week after the vaccine. And then other systems followed suit, and there became other problems. So.
As much as you're comfortable with
Yeah.
sharing, what has it done to you?
Well, I went from 2 managed diagnoses of blood pressure and asthma with a couple of medicines to now over 20 diagnoses with over 20 medications. Those involve things like respiratory failure with hypoxia, and then I had blood clots. I had systemic inflammatory response syndrome. I had gastroparesis and neurogenic bladder and critical myopathy, and the list goes on and on. Multiple systems.
What prognosis have they given you?
Honestly, they really don't tell you a good prognosis. They don't tell you what they could say as far as a prognosis, because they say, we're not sure, we can manage it. Some get better, some don't. It's just a wait and see game. We'll try different therapies. Some of the frontline doctor, that I'm seeing, or the functional doctor I'm seeing also in conjunction with my normal specialist, they have been a little bit more positive, trying to find newer research, newer, medications, off-label things. But it's all, unfortunately, a game of trial and errors, because the original source is something that is newer, is what they say. So it's been difficult. Don't really know, hope-wise, what the future entails.
Were you coerced into taking the vaccine?
On an indirect level, I am a physical therapist, and I worked in home health setting. At that exact time, our employer did not mandate it. They talked about how the government and the business was going that direction. However, it didn't get to that point when I actually took it. It was more of the effect of patients, because in the home health setting, we had to go into their houses. Patients were directly asking us, you can't come in here unless you've been vaccinated, have you? So that took off some of our patient load.
So you would have lost work.
I would have lost work, essentially. And, while I was off, I got a letter saying if I wanted to return to work, I had to be mandated. So it eventually went there. But it was kind of like everybody was pressuring, do your part. If you had COVID and you spread it to a patient and grandma got it because of you and she died, now it's your fault. And there's a whole lot of social and pressure that came with that, and through the medical field. So,
what were your feelings about the vaccine ahead of time?
I questioned it. I highly questioned it, because my medical background told me drug trials take years. There's multiple phases. Each phase has, multiple years. But this one came out of the blue, and it's okay, and it's safe, and it's effective. I don't know. I questioned it and had hesitancy. However, even as adults, I think we succumb to peer pressure, to pressure of media, to pressure of possibility of losing that financial income. And that's the way it's going. The fear of not being able to travel, all of these things add into it. And you put your values sometimes on the background and don't do thorough research when you should have.
Yeah. What was your view of the medical system prior to this upheaval?
Honestly, going through your traditional medical education as a physical therapist, we learned about CDC, FDA, government, and, everybody has that belief that government, politicians, there is crookedness, there's, things of deceit. But when you're a medical personnel, you think, oh gosh, FDA, CDC, they're there, they're the portion there to protect us. They're the ones that are doing the research. They're the ones that are going to protect us and our patients. And that's kind of what you're fed, and your brain becomes to believe, and you stupidly don't question.
So what are you doing now? You're here at this event.
I'm here at this event. This has been multiple ones that I've gone to over the last 2 years. I have found that when I lost my ability to return to work, I'm still holding out that will change, and there will be a miracle in which I can gain full ability to do that. But until then, not only the medical problems are weighing heavy, but that creates a whole another aspect of the mental aspect of dealing with it, and learning to find a new purpose and grieving that life that's lost and trying to find a new direction. And I have found that, my passion is to help people. And what better way than to use your experience, so maybe somebody else won't have to go through the same brutal experience that you did and mistakes you did. To bring awareness, to bring the need for consent, full transparency and full consent. And that is my goal, is to be able to go to these functions and not only spread that, but also get that personal gain of meeting people that are vaccine injured. And, you make those connections. They're like my second family now, my support system. And you gain a lot of strength through that. And then also meeting doctors and healthcare providers, you make a lot of connections of things that might help. So,
what has been the response to friends, family, just your network about you speaking out against the vaccines?
Fortunately, I'm from a rural town in Tennessee, small, and a lot of the views already are in the direction or the side of questioning government, questioning control. So, as I speak out, I don't hear a whole lot of resistance or, questioning on a more of a local level where I live and things like that. It's when I go beyond those walls to larger cities, to larger networking of, media, social media, that you start to become bombarded by outside opinion and very hateful comments and things. So,
Were you anti-vax before COVID?
No, I was not anti-vax. I wasn't one of these, let's get everybody vaccinated, but I was kind of, I guess you would call it more of a sheep. I followed suit, checked it off the list that was a requirement. Get your flu, get your pneumonia, and now, okay, let's add this to protect us and our patients. They're just adding to the list. Let's do it. So I wasn't really pro-vaccine, but really wasn't anti-vaccine.
What would you say to someone who is considering, maybe they've held out this long, or maybe they're injured?
Yeah.
What would you say to them?
Somebody that's held out this long, I would say stand your ground. Then why, the self-word look of why have you held out this long? What is that driving? Is it the knowledge you've gained? Is it an inward thing? And follow that, because sometimes when we don't trust our gut, or when we don't trust the knowledge, and we take outside influences, then if something did happen, then there is a whole lot of guilt associated with that when you could have just stood strong. As far as the people that are vaccine injured, my biggest message is, have a voice. Don't be afraid to tell your story. You're not crazy. This is real. and these things do happen, and there are a multitude of people out there affected. And I think the biggest thing is that I had initially was feeling alone and feeling like, what's going on. This must be rare. What happened? And then realizing there's a whole world out there that was being censored from me, basically, when I tried to search it. And so speak up. Don't be afraid to tell your story, and know that there are others out there feeling your same situation. And we're here to love and support each other.